The night was colder than usual in Los Angeles. Rain tapped against the tall glass windows of the Brooks modern house, echoing through empty rooms that once held laughter. Emily Carter, 7 months pregnant, stood near the staircase clutching her belly, trying to calm her shaking hands. "Daniel, please," she whispered, her voice trembling. "We can talk about this tomorrow. You've been drinking." "Tomorrow?" Daniel Brooks barked, slamming his phone on the counter. "You think I don't know about your little secrets? Vanessa told me everything." Emily froze. That name again. Vanessa Moore, the woman Daniel swore was just a colleague. The influencer with perfect hair and fake smiles plastered all over social media. Emily had seen her name flash across Daniel's phone too many times to count. But tonight was different. Tonight, Vanessa had called during dinner, whispering poison into Daniel's ear. "You're insane," Emily said softly. "Vanessa is manipulating you. Can't you see that?" Daniel's eyes burned red. "You're lying." He stepped closer, towering over her, his breath thick with whiskey. Emily took a step back toward the stairs. "Please, Daniel, you're scaring me." Her phone buzzed on the table, a message from Vanessa. "He knows everything. Good luck, sweetheart." Before Emily could reach it, Daniel snatched the phone, reading the text out loud with a twisted grin. "Good luck? What does that mean, huh?" "Daniel, stop." He grabbed her wrist. She gasped in pain. The baby kicked inside her, sharp, terrified. She tried to pull away, but his rage was volcanic. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone? You think you could make a fool out of me?" Her foot slipped on the wet tile. In that split second, Daniel's hands shoved forward, harder than he realized. The world tilted. Emily's scream tore through the house as her body tumbled down the marble stairs, hitting the edge halfway, then landing motionless on the floor. Her phone slid beside her, screen cracked, glowing faintly with Vanessa's text. Daniel froze. His chest heaved as thunder cracked outside. "Oh God, Emily?" He rushed down, shaking her shoulders. Blood pooled beneath her. She didn't move. The baby wasn't moving either. He staggered back, dialing 911 with trembling fingers. "My wife? She fell. She's pregnant. Please hurry." Across the street, a flicker of light caught the moment. Mr. Wilson, the elderly neighbor, had a motion sensor camera pointed toward the Brooks doorway. It blinked red, recording everything. The argument, the push, the fall. Minutes later, sirens wailed through the rain. Paramedics stormed inside, lifting Emily onto a stretcher. Daniel followed, his hands covered in her blood. Vanessa's car sat idling a few houses away. Through her windshield, she smiled coldly and whispered. Finally, the ambulance doors slammed shut. Blue lights reflected off Daniel's pale face as he realized what he had done. And somewhere inside that speeding ambulance, a faint heartbeat struggled to survive. The hospital corridors smelled like bleach and fear. The fluorescent lights flickered as nurses rushed Emily's stretcher down the hall. Her face was pale, lips turning blue. A crimson stain spread across the white sheet beneath her belly. "We're losing her," one nurse shouted. Dr. War. Linda Park burst through the emergency doors, her expression sharp and focused. "Get her into OR2 now. I need fetal heart monitoring immediately." Emily's pulse fluttered weakly on the screen. Inside her, the baby's heartbeat was fading like a dying whisper. The doctor pressed her stethoscope, listening, praying. "Come on, little one. Hold on." Daniel stood frozen outside the room, soaked from the rain. His hands shook as he stared through the glass window. The reality of what he'd done hit him like a freight train. He wasn't just a man who lost control. He was a man who might have killed his own child. A nurse approached him. "Sir, you can't be here. Please wait in the family area." He nodded numbly, stumbling into a chair. His shirt clung to his body, sticky with Emily's blood. Around him, strangers whispered. Someone pointed, recognizing his face from a real estate billboard downtown. "Isn't that Daniel Brooks, the realtor guy?" He couldn't breathe. Every second stretched like an eternity. His phone buzzed. It was Vanessa. Daniel hesitated before answering. Her voice came smooth, calm. "How bad is it?" She's in surgery," he stammered. "Vanessa, I think she might die." Vanessa exhaled. "Then you'd better stick to the story, Daniel." She slipped. "You didn't touch her, understand?" I pushed her," he whispered. "I didn't mean to, but—" "Stop it," Vanessa snapped. "Do you want to lose everything? Your license, your career, your house?" She fell. "That's all anyone needs to know." The line went dead. Inside the operating room, Dr. Park and her team fought for 2 lives, blood pressure dropping, oxygen low. "Give me more fluids," she commanded. Emily's fingers twitched slightly. A nurse murmured, "Doctor, we have a heartbeat. Weak, but steady." Dr. Park's eyes softened. "Good. Keep going." Hours later, Emily lay in the ICU, motionless but alive. Machines beeped steadily beside her. Dr. Park stepped out and found Daniel slumped in the hallway. "She made it," she said firmly, "but she's not out of danger. The baby's heartbeat is weak, and she might lose him if we're not careful." Daniel nodded, tears blurring his vision. "Thank you." "You should go home and clean up," Dr. Park said, her tone sharp. "When she wakes up, she doesn't need to see the man who caused this." Daniel froze. "What did you say?" Dr. Park met his eyes coldly. "You think we didn't notice the bruises on her wrist? I've seen enough accidents to know what really happens behind closed doors." She turned away, leaving him in silence. Rain hammered against the windows as Daniel sat alone in the waiting room, haunted by the sound of machines beeping from behind the glass. And inside that sterile room, Emily's fingers twitched again, as if her body refused to die before justice was done. Morning light filtered through the hospital blinds. Machines hummed softly beside Emily's bed. Her eyelids fluttered, heavy from the anesthesia. Pain burned through her body like fire. The first thing she felt was the weight of the bandage around her stomach. The second was silence, a deep, dreadful silence. "Where's my baby?" she whispered, voice barely audible. Dr. Park appeared beside her, her expression calm but weary. "He's still fighting," she said gently. "We managed to stabilize his heartbeat, but you both need rest." Emily nodded weakly, tears pooling at the corner of her eyes. Her memory was fractured, replaying the argument, the stairs, Daniel's face twisted in rage. She remembered falling, and then nothing. Dr. Park hesitated before speaking again. "The police are here. They have some questions." 2 officers entered the room. One of them, Officer Green, smiled politely. "Mrs. Brooks, we're very sorry for what happened. Your husband called 911 right away. He said you slipped near the stairs. Can you confirm that?" Emily froze. Her throat tightened. "He said I slipped?" The officer nodded, jotting notes. "Yes, ma'am. He was very upset. Said it was an accident." "An accident?" The words cut through her chest like glass. Her voice trembled. "No, he pushed me." The officers exchanged uncertain glances. "Ma'am, are you sure? You might be disoriented from the fall." Emily tried to sit up, but pain shot through her abdomen. "He pushed me," she repeated, tears spilling. He was angry. Vanessa was on the phone. Dr. Park stepped in quickly. "Officers, she's still recovering from major trauma. Please give her time." They nodded reluctantly and stepped outside. As they left, Dr. Park whispered to Emily, "You did the right thing telling the truth, but you need to rest before you decide what comes next." Hours later, Daniel entered quietly, holding flowers that looked painfully out of place. "Emily," he said softly, "you scared me to death." She turned away, staring at the window. "You told them I slipped." Daniel froze. "Emily, please, you were upset. You missed a step." "Stop lying," she shouted, startling herself. "You pushed me, Daniel. You almost killed our baby." His face darkened. "Don't say that again. You don't know what kind of trouble you'll cause." Her heartbeat quickened. "You're threatening me?" "I'm trying to protect us," he said, lowering his voice. "You don't understand what's at stake. If this gets out, I'll lose everything. My job, my reputation. Vanessa." Her eyes widened. "Vanessa? You're still talking to her?" He looked away. "She's helping me manage the PR. We have to stay quiet until this blows over." Emily's heart broke anew. The man sitting beside her wasn't the one she married. He was a stranger made of fear and pride. That night, alone in the dim room, she stared at her cracked phone screen. A new message appeared from an unknown number. "Keep quiet if you want your baby safe." Her hand trembled. Somewhere out there, Vanessa was still pulling the strings, and Emily realized this nightmare had only just begun. 3 days passed. Emily's body was healing, but her mind was still caught in the moment she fell. Each time she closed her eyes, she heard Daniel shouting, felt his hands shoving her, the weightless terror before she hit the ground. Yet beneath the fear, something new began to stir, a quiet, burning determination. Dr. Park entered her room with a clipboard. "You're improving faster than expected," she said, "but I need you to stay calm. Stress can trigger complications." Emily nodded weakly. "Doctor, the police don't believe me. They think it was an accident." Dr. Park's gaze sharpened. Then we'll give them a reason to believe you. That afternoon, the hospital received an unexpected visitor, Mr. Wilson, the elderly neighbor from across the street. He was holding a small flash drive wrapped in a napkin. "I need to speak to Mrs. Brooks," he told the receptionist. "It's about what happened that night." Minutes later, Dr. Park brought him into Emily's room. His hands trembled as he removed his cap. "Miss, I don't know if this will help, but my porch camera caught something. I didn't mean to spy, but my motion sensor turns on with noise. That night, I heard shouting, and I saw." Emily's breath caught. "You saw him push me?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, ma'am. It's all there." Tears welled in her eyes. "You kept it?" "Of course I did," he said firmly. "Didn't sit right with me. My wife, God rest her soul, used to say the truth always knocks twice. Guess it just did." Dr. Park took the flash drive, her expression unreadable. "I'll make sure this gets to the right hands." That evening, Emily replayed the moment in her head. Daniel's anger, Vanessa's manipulation, her own helplessness. But now there was proof. Real proof. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't alone. When Dr. Park stepped out, Emily unlocked her phone with shaking hands. The threatening message still glowed on the screen. This time, she forwarded it to an old contact, Sophie Nguyen, her college roommate and now a domestic abuse lawyer. Within minutes, Sophie replied, "Don't reply to them. I'm coming tomorrow. We'll handle this legally." Emily's chest tightened, relief mixed with fear. She didn't know if she was strong enough for a fight, but she couldn't let her baby grow up in lies and danger. Meanwhile, across town, Daniel sat in Vanessa's penthouse, pacing. "You said no one saw anything," he hissed. Vanessa sipped her wine, completely calm. "Relax. You handled the police, didn't you?" Emily's weak, emotional. "No one will believe her." Daniel rubbed his face. "There's a camera across the street. What if?" She cut him off, smiling coldly. "Then we destroy it." But it was already too late. Dr. Park had backed up the footage to the hospital's security server that same night. She looked down at the progress bar on her computer as the upload reached 100%. "For you and your child," she whispered. Outside Emily's room, the storm had passed, and for the first time, a thin ray of sunlight broke through the gray clouds. The fourth morning arrived, with a soft glow sneaking through the blinds. Emily woke to the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor beside her, the faint sound of a baby's heartbeat echoing from another machine. For the first time, it didn't sound like a reminder of fear. It sounded like a promise. Her baby was still alive. Dr. Park entered quietly. "He's stable today," she said with a gentle smile. "He's strong, just like his mother." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." Dr. Park nodded, but her tone turned serious. "Listen to me, Emily. The police will reopen your case. That footage from Mr. Wilson, it's enough to challenge your husband's statement, but you must stay alert. People like Daniel and his lover won't give up easily." Emily's hands curled around the blanket. "I'm not afraid anymore," she said softly. "Not of him, not of her." Later that afternoon, she asked the nurse for her phone. Notifications flooded in. Sympathy texts from coworkers, calls from unknown numbers, and dozens of unread messages from Daniel. She opened one. "I'm sorry. Please let me see you. I can explain everything." Another followed seconds later. "If you go to the police, you'll regret it." Her stomach twisted. The man who had once kissed her forehead every night before bed was now threatening her through a screen. But the fear that had ruled her heart for years began to dissolve. Emily opened the voice recorder on her phone. "This is Emily Carter," she began, her voice steady. "If anything happens to me or my baby, Daniel Brooks is responsible." She saved the file and uploaded it to a cloud folder labeled Evidence. A knock at the door startled her. Dr. Park peeked in. "You have a visitor," she said. "He insisted on seeing you." Before Emily could answer, Daniel stepped inside, wearing a crisp suit and the fake smile of a salesman. "Emily," he began smoothly, "I came to take you home." Her pulse spiked. "I'm not going anywhere with you." "Come on, sweetheart," he said, lowering his voice. "This hospital talk is making things worse. You don't want the media involved." "Media?" she repeated, frowning. Daniel forced a laugh. "You know how people twist stories. Vanessa's trying to protect both of us." Emily's rage snapped. "Stop saying her name," she shouted, startling even herself. "She's the reason this happened. She's the reason my baby almost died." Daniel's expression hardened. "You're overreacting. I lost control, that's all. Don't make this something it's not. Emily looked him straight in the eyes. No, Daniel. You made it something it's not. A marriage built on lies. Dr. Park reappeared, arms crossed. Visiting time is over, Mr. Brooks. Leave. Daniel clenched his jaw but backed away, muttering, You'll regret this. When the door shut, Emily exhaled shakily. She pressed her hand over her belly. Not this time, she whispered. Outside, Daniel's phone buzzed with a new message from Vanessa. She's fighting back. Handle it, or I will. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, Daniel's words echoed like thunder. You'll regret this. The fear that once kept her silent had transformed into something sharper, something unbreakable. She was done being a victim. The soft light from the hallway spilled into her room. Dr. Park entered quietly, holding a folder. Emily, she whispered, your friend Sophie Nguyen just called me. She's here. Emily's heart skipped. Sophie, the woman she hadn't spoken to in years after a painful falling out. But now, when everyone else had turned away, Sophie had come back. A moment later, Sophie stepped in, short hair, glasses, sharp confidence radiating from her. Em, she said softly, you look terrible. Emily let out a shaky laugh. That's one way to say, I missed you. Sophie smiled faintly. I've seen worse, but I'm glad you're alive. She glanced at Dr. Park. I heard about the footage. I can help. We'll make sure he never hurts you again. Dr. Park handed Sophie the USB drive. Everything's here. Time, sound, angle. It's solid evidence. Emily stared at the flash drive, tears threatening. You really think we can win? Sophie sat beside her. We won't just win. We'll end him. They spent hours whispering plans. Sophie explained how to file a restraining order, how to preserve evidence, how to avoid contact with Daniel. Every text, every voicemail, every threat, save them all. They'll bury him in court. Emily nodded, her hands trembling but steadying with each passing minute. What about my baby? What if he tries to take him from me? He won't, Sophie assured her. California law protects victims of domestic violence. Once we prove assault during pregnancy, he'll lose all custody rights. For the first time since the fall, Emily allowed herself to breathe. She touched her belly gently. You hear that, little one? We're going to be free. As dawn approached, Sophie gathered her things. I'll return tomorrow with the paperwork. You'll have full legal protection by next week. In the meantime, don't answer Daniel's calls. Dr. Park nodded. I'll make sure the hospital restricts his visits. He won't get near her. When they left, Emily turned on her phone one last time. Dozens of missed calls from Daniel, a few from unknown numbers. Then, a voice message from Vanessa. You're making a big mistake, Emily. Daniel's not the enemy. I am, and I always finish what I start. Her hand froze. The voice was calm, confident, and terrifyingly sincere. Emily deleted the message and opened her camera. She stared at her reflection, pale, exhausted, but alive. You're not that woman anymore, she whispered to herself. Outside the hospital, rain began to fall again, soft but steady. Daniel sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel, staring up her window. Vanessa's voice echoed from his speakerphone. If she talks, we both go down. Do something before it's too late. And as lightning flashed across the sky, Emily's fight for survival turned into a war for justice. By the end of the week, Emily's condition improved enough for discharge. She walked slower now, one hand always over her belly, the other gripping her phone like a weapon. Sophie had filed the restraining order. The case was moving forward. But Emily knew the danger wasn't over. Outside the hospital, flashes went off, reporters shouting questions. Mrs. Brooks, is it true your husband pushed you? Are you pressing charges? She froze, startled. Who had told them? Then a familiar voice drifted through the noise, smooth, syrupy, false. Please, everyone, no pictures. Emily needs peace. Vanessa Moore stood at the gate wearing oversized sunglasses and a tight white dress. Cameras turned to her instantly. I'm here as a friend, she told reporters sweetly. Daniel's devastated. They both just need privacy right now. Emily's chest burned. Dr. Park stepped between them. Keep walking, she murmured. Don't give her what she wants. Emily obeyed, but Vanessa's voice followed, loud enough for everyone to hear. It's such a shame when mental health goes untreated. Stress can make people imagine terrible things. The crowd gasped. Emily's knees weakened. Dr. Park tightened her grip. Ignore her, she whispered. Inside the car, Emily stared out the window as they drove away. She's turning it around, she muttered. She's making me look crazy. Sophie called an hour later. I saw the footage on social media. Vanessa's spinning the narrative. She leaked your hospital photos. Emily's throat went dry. Photos? How? Someone inside the hospital must have sold them, Sophie said grimly. She's powerful online, over 2 million followers, but we'll counter it with the real evidence. We'll go public when the court date's confirmed. Meanwhile, Vanessa was already live streaming from her penthouse, crocodile tears in her eyes. I've known Daniel for years, she told her followers. He's kind, generous, and doesn't deserve this witch hunt. Sometimes jealousy drives people to do horrible things. The comments poured in. Justice for Daniel, pray for Vanessa. The internet turned cruel overnight. Emily's inbox flooded with threats. Liar, gold digger. You're lucky he didn't finish the job. Tears blurred her vision. She wanted to throw her phone across the room, but then she remembered the flash drive, the evidence, the truth. Let them talk, she whispered. They'll know soon enough. Daniel, meanwhile, was unraveling. Vanessa's live stream had made him a villain and a victim at the same time. He slammed his laptop shut and shouted, "You said you'd fix this?" Vanessa turned, calm and cruel. "I did. The public loves me. You just have to keep quiet and play the grieving husband." "Grieving?" he echoed. "She's alive," Vanessa shrugged. "Not for long if you keep being stupid." Daniel stared at her, horrified. "What did you just say?" She smiled coldly. "Relax. I meant her reputation." But her eyes said something else. Something darker. That night, while the city lights shimmered below, Emily opened a new email from Sophie. Attached was a court date and a line of reassurance. Justice always takes its time, but it always comes. Emily looked out her apartment window at the same city Vanessa ruled with lies. "You wanted a war," she whispered. "Now you've got one." The chaos outside looked like normal Los Angeles, cars honking, neon signs flickering, but Daniel Brooks's world was burning. Vanessa's live stream had exploded across every gossip site. Reporters camped outside his office, his phone buzzed nonstop, and his boss demanded answers. "Domestic assault?" the man had yelled over the phone. "You realize we can't have you representing clients with a scandal like that?" Daniel hung up mid-lecture, his pulse pounding. He'd gone from one of the top realtors in Beverly Hills to a headline monster overnight. His license was under review, and clients were withdrawing deals worth millions. Vanessa strolled into his condo that evening like nothing had happened, sipping champagne. "Rough day?" she teased. He glared. "You set me up. That interview, you made me look guilty." She laughed lightly. "Oh, Daniel, you looked guilty all on your own. I just gave the audience what they wanted, a tragic story. People love drama." "You're insane," he muttered, pacing the floor. "Emily's alive, Vanessa. She's got evidence. The cops will reopen the case." "Evidence?" Vanessa's smile faltered for the first time. "What evidence?" Daniel froze, realizing too late he'd said too much. "A neighbor's camera," he admitted. "Dr. Park has it. Sophie Nguyen, her lawyer friend, filed something in court." Vanessa's glass shattered in her hand. "You idiot," she hissed, blood dripping from her palm. "You said there were no cameras." "I didn't know." She stepped closer, voice low and venomous. "Then you better fix it, because if I go down, I'm taking you with me." Daniel backed away. For the first time he saw the truth. Vanessa wasn't just manipulative, she was dangerous. That night, as rain drizzled against the windows, Daniel's phone rang again. Unknown number. A distorted male voice spoke. "Brooks, you owe 100 grand. We didn't forget." Daniel froze. "Who is this?" "The money you borrowed for that investment, Vanessa's deal. You think we don't know where it went?" He looked around in panic. "I don't have it." "Then get it," the voice said coldly. "You've got 72 hours. After that, you won't be the only one who bleeds." The line went dead. Daniel's legs gave out. He sank to the floor, shaking. His debts, his crimes, his lies, they were all closing in. Vanessa had used him, drained him, and now the people behind her were coming for him too. Across town, Emily sat with Sophie at her kitchen table. The flash drive rested between them. "Tomorrow, we'll submit this officially," Sophie said. "Once the judge sees it, Daniel's finished." Emily touched her belly gently. "I don't want revenge," she whispered. "I just want peace." Sophie smiled sadly. "Peace doesn't come free, Em. You have to fight for it." Meanwhile, Daniel stared at a photo of his wedding day. Emily smiling, innocent, in love. He threw the frame against the wall. In the dark, his phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Vanessa. "Don't worry, darling. I have a plan to make it all disappear." Daniel swallowed hard, dread crawling through his veins. He didn't know if Vanessa meant the evidence or Emily herself. The following Monday, the courthouse buzzed with reporters. Flashing cameras, murmurs, the metallic click of heels against marble floors. Los Angeles had turned Emily's tragedy into a public spectacle. But as she stepped out of Sophie's car, wearing a simple gray dress and holding her swollen belly, the noise faded around her. Her heartbeat drowned it all out. She wasn't here as a victim anymore. She was here to fight. Sophie walked beside her, briefcase in hand. "We'll file for a restraining order and motion to reopen the case," she said calmly. Once the footage is played, Daniel's story collapses. Emily nodded, every step steady. "Let's end this." Inside the courtroom, Daniel was already waiting. His once proud posture had cracked, dark circles hung under his eyes. Vanessa wasn't with him, at least not yet. When Emily entered, Daniel's face flickered with something like guilt, then fear. For a second, she almost pitied him. Then she remembered the stares, the blood, the terror. Her pity died instantly. The judge entered. Everyone rose. Sophie stood first. "Your Honor, we're submitting new evidence that contradicts the defendant's statement. This video was recorded by a neighbor's surveillance camera and obtained lawfully." She inserted the flash drive. The screen lit up. There it was. Daniel and Emily arguing, his hand grabbing her arm, her falling backward, the scream. Gasps filled the courtroom. Daniel's lawyer froze mid-breath. The judge frowned. "Mr. Brooks, care to explain this?" Daniel stammered. It's not what it looks like. I was trying to." The judge cut him off. "Save it. We'll continue this hearing after reviewing the evidence." Reporters scribbled furiously. Emily kept her gaze forward. She could feel Daniel's eyes on her, but she didn't flinch. For the first time, she held power. As they exited the courthouse, Vanessa appeared out of nowhere, draped in designer clothes, smiling like a predator. "Emily, darling," she purred. "Quite the performance in there." Emily stopped, her stomach tightening. "Stay away from me." "Oh, relax," Vanessa said, stepping closer. "You really think the truth will set you free? The internet doesn't care about truth, it cares about who screams the loudest, and I'm very, very good at that." Sophie moved between them. "Back off, Vanessa, you're obstructing an active investigation." Vanessa smirked. "Investigation? Honey, by the time this hits social media, she'll be the villain again." She leaned in to whisper in Emily's ear. "Careful, sweetheart. Not every fall comes from stairs." Then she turned and disappeared into the crowd of flashing cameras. Emily stood frozen, her hands trembling. "She's not just talking about me," she whispered. "She's threatening my baby." Sophie's face hardened. "Then we'll protect you. She's crossed a line." That night, the footage hit every major news outlet. Justice for Emily trended worldwide. Support poured in from women who had suffered in silence. But as the world rallied behind her, another storm brewed. Vanessa's next move. Across town, in a dim penthouse suite, Vanessa poured herself a glass of wine and dialed a number. "She wants war," she said softly. "Let's give her one." And for the first time, Emily's revenge wasn't just survival. It was destiny. The courthouse was packed the following week. Reporters filled the back rows. Camera flashes burst like lightning. Emily sat at the plaintiff's table, her hands resting protectively over her stomach. Sophie stood beside her, flipping through folders, calm but razor-focused. Across the room, Daniel sat alone. His expensive suit couldn't hide the panic in his eyes. Vanessa hadn't shown up. The judge entered, gavel striking. "We are here to address the case of Emily Carter versus Daniel Brooks." Sophie rose. "Your Honor, my client is a survivor of domestic assault. The defense claims the incident was accidental. We intend to prove otherwise through video evidence, medical documentation, and witness testimony." Daniel's attorney shifted uncomfortably. "Your Honor, we maintain that Mr. Brooks did not intend harm. It was a tragic misunderstanding." The judge cut him off. "Save it. Let's see the footage again." The lights dimmed. On screen, Daniel's rage filled the courtroom, his voice raised. The shove, the fall, gasps echoed again. Some reporters turned away, unable to watch. When the clip ended, the judge's expression hardened. Sophie stepped forward. Additionally, Dr. Linda Park, the attending physician, will testify that the victim's injuries were consistent with blunt force trauma, not an accidental slip. Dr. Park took the stand, composed and firm. Her bruises were patterned. The wrist marks indicated force. "I've seen too many cases like this. She's lucky to be alive." Emily swallowed hard, tears pricking her eyes. When the defense tried to question Dr. Park's findings, Sophie objected sharply. The defense has no medical expertise. Sustained. Next came the neighbor, Mr. Wilson. He shuffled to the stand with his worn cap in hand. I saw him push her, he said simply. My camera don't lie. The courtroom went silent. Finally, Sophie turned to the judge. Your Honor, we also have evidence of witness intimidation. My client received multiple threats traced back to the defendant's phone. Daniel jumped to his feet. She's lying, he shouted. Vanessa told me to. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged the gavel. Order. Sophie's lips curved into a small knowing smile. Vanessa Moore, the influencer you were romantically involved with. Is she your accomplice, Mr. Brooks? Daniel froze. The cameras clicked like gunfire. He sank back into his chair, defeated. The judge looked unimpressed. Mr. Brooks, given the overwhelming evidence, this court is issuing a temporary restraining order effective immediately. The DA will review charges for aggravated assault. Gasps filled the room again. Emily exhaled shakily, relief flooding her chest. Sophie placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. It's not over, she whispered, but this is the first win. As they left the courthouse, Daniel tried to approach her. Emily, wait, please, I never meant to. She turned, voice calm but cold. You meant every word that night. You just didn't expect me to live long enough to prove it. Outside, the crowd cheered. Women held signs reading justice for Emily. Cameras captured her walking down the courthouse steps, head high. But miles away, Vanessa watched the broadcast, her smile fading into fury. So she wants to play the hero, she muttered. Let's see how heroic she feels when everything she loves burns. The ink on the court order was barely dry when Daniel's world began to crumble. Within hours, his company suspended his real estate license pending further investigation. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Clients canceling contracts, investors demanding refunds, friends ghosting him one by one. Overnight, Daniel Brooks went from polished success to public disgrace. He spent the next day pacing his condo, ignoring the dozens of reporters outside. When he finally turned on the TV, every channel replayed the footage of him pushing Emily. His name crawled across the screen like a curse. Real estate agent accused of domestic assault. His reflection in the black mirror of the screen looked unrecognizable. Meanwhile, Emily sat in her small apartment, surrounded by moving boxes. Sophie had insisted she relocate for safety. The restraining order gave her physical protection, but emotionally, she was still raw. She watched her unborn son's tiny kicks ripple across her stomach and whispered, "You're safe now. Mama won't let anyone hurt you again." Dr. Park visited that afternoon to check on her progress. "Your vitals are stable," she said with a smile. "You're stronger than most women I've treated after trauma like this." Emily exhaled softly. "Some days I feel brave. Others, I feel broken." Dr. Park squeezed her hand. "Healing is both." Across town, Daniel was unraveling. Vanessa had gone silent for days. Her apartment was empty, her phone disconnected. Then a single message arrived from her. "Don't call me. Handle your mess. You're toxic PR now." He hurled his phone against the wall, rage overtaking reason. "You used me," he shouted to no one. That night, desperate and drunk, Daniel drove to the hospital. He parked near the entrance, ignoring the pouring rain. "She has to see me," he muttered. "She has to forgive me." Security spotted him before he reached the maternity wing. "Sir, you're not allowed here," the guard warned. "I just want to talk to my wife," Daniel pleaded. "She's under a protection order," the guard said firmly. "You need to leave." But Daniel refused. He sank to his knees in the middle of the driveway, sobbing. "Please, she's my wife." Rain drenched his suit, mixing with his tears. A crowd gathered, nurses, patients, even reporters who happened to be nearby. Flashbulbs exploded as Daniel cried, "Tell her I'm sorry! Tell her I didn't mean it!" Inside the hospital, Emily sat up in her bed as the commotion echoed through the walls. Dr. Park entered, face tight. "Don't look outside," she warned. But curiosity got the better of her. She moved to the window and froze. Daniel was kneeling at the gate, surrounded by flashing cameras, sobbing in the rain. Her stomach twisted. "Is he drunk?" Dr. Park sighed. "Yes, and desperate." Emily turned away. "He's crying for himself, not for me." Outside, Daniel's cries grew weaker as officers led him away. For once, Emily didn't feel pity. She felt peace, because this time, the world saw him for what he truly was. And while he knelt in the rain, broken and humiliated, Emily realized she was finally standing tall. The night after Daniel's public breakdown, silence finally returned to Emily's world. No reporters outside her door, no buzzing phone filled with hate. Just stillness, the kind that felt both comforting and unfamiliar. She woke before dawn to the sound of soft rain tapping the window, the same rain that had once echoed through her nightmare. But this time, it didn't sound like fear. It sounded like renewal. Emily sat at the kitchen table, laptop open. Her email chimed. A message from Lucas Ford, CEO of Ford & Finch Events. She'd worked on his company's gala months ago before her accident. Emily, I saw the news. You don't deserve any of what happened. If you're ready, I'd like to offer you a remote project. You have talent the world shouldn't silence. Her breath caught. After weeks of feeling invisible, someone still saw her worth. When Sophie arrived later that morning, Emily told her about the offer. Do you think I should take it? She asked hesitantly. Sophie smiled. You should take your life back, Em. This isn't just work, it's healing. Do it. Dr. Park dropped by soon after to check on her blood pressure. You're glowing, she said, genuinely pleased. I can tell something changed. I got a job offer, Emily said softly. A real one. Dr. Park nodded. That's good. Focus on what builds you, not what broke you. That afternoon, Emily set up a small workspace by the window. She turned on soft music, opened a blank event proposal, and began typing. At first, her fingers hesitated, unsure. Then, like muscle memory, the creativity returned. Color palettes, timelines, budgets, decor themes. Every keystroke pulled her further from Daniel's shadow. Meanwhile, Daniel sat in a dark motel room miles away, staring at his reflection in the cracked mirror. His phone lay on the bed beside an empty bottle. Vanessa still hadn't returned his calls. His name was trending again. #Daniel Brooks Neals. He'd become a meme. He punched the mirror, shattering it. This is all her fault, he muttered, voice shaking. She made me do it. She ruined me. Across the city, Emily received a notification. Her proposal had been approved. Lucas replied, Perfect. Let's move forward. I'll wire your advance today. For the first time in months, she smiled without forcing it. That evening, she visited Dr. Park's office for a checkup. The baby's heartbeat filled the room, a steady, strong rhythm. He's a fighter, Dr. Park said warmly. Emily wiped a tear. Yeah, he gets that from me. Outside, the sunset painted the sky gold and rose. Emily stood in the parking lot for a long moment, hand over her belly, breathing in freedom. But peace never lasted long. As she drove home, her phone buzzed. A private number. Against her better judgment, she answered. A familiar voice whispered, Enjoy your peace while it lasts, sweetheart. You're trending again. The line went dead. Emily's heart pounded as she pulled over. She opened social media and froze. Vanessa's account had posted a picture of Emily's baby ultrasound with the caption, Pray for those who lie to survive. Her hands shook on the steering wheel. Vanessa wasn't finished, and Emily realized this battle for peace was far from over. 3 weeks passed. The ultrasound photo Vanessa had leaked still floated across gossip sites, but the frenzy had begun to fade. Public sympathy was now on Emily's side. The court of opinion, just like the legal one, was finally seeing through the lies. In her small apartment, sunlight spilled over piles of color swatches, sketches, and fabric samples. Emily sat at her desk, headphones on, focused on designing the Phoenix Gala, a charity event Lucas had assigned her to manage remotely. The irony of the name wasn't lost on her. Sophie stopped by that afternoon, coffee in hand. You're glowing, she teased. I can't believe this is the same woman I pulled out of a hospital bed 2 months ago. Emily smiled. It feels good to work again. For once I'm building something instead of running from something. You're not just building, Sophie said proudly. You're winning. Emily's phone buzzed. A message from Lucas. The client loves your concept. Would you be open to presenting it in person? Her heart fluttered. It would be her first public appearance since the trial. Part of her wanted to hide, but another part, stronger, braver, wanted to show the world she wasn't broken. Yes, she texted back, I'll be there. Across town, Daniel watched the same event ad on TV. The Phoenix Gala, a celebration of strength. Emily's name appeared in the credits. His jaw tightened. She's everywhere, he muttered. His motel room was a mess. Unpaid bills, eviction notices, half-empty bottles. He grabbed his phone and dialed Vanessa again. Straight to voicemail. You promised me help, he growled. You said you'd fix this. Vanessa, however, had moved on. Her Instagram now flaunted a new business venture and a different man, a wealthy investor known for shady deals. In a live stream, she smiled into the camera. "Karma always comes for the weak," she said sweetly. "You just have to survive long enough to watch it happen." Her followers flooded the chat with heart emojis. That evening, Emily arrived at Lucas's downtown office for her presentation. Her hands trembled slightly, but her reflection in the glass door reminded her who she was now: stronger, wiser, unbreakable. Lucas greeted her with a warm smile. "Emily, your work is incredible. The client's board wants you to lead the entire project." Her eyes widened. "Me? Yes, you've earned it." She felt a lump in her throat. "Thank you," she said softly. As they reviewed the plans, Lucas noticed the ultrasound photo tucked inside her planner. "That your baby?" he asked gently. Emily nodded, smiling. "He's my reason for everything." Lucas hesitated, then said, "If you ever need anything, security, logistics, whatever, you call me. You're not alone." For the first time in a long time, she believed it. That night, as she drove home, she passed a billboard, her own design mock-up for the Phoenix Gala, lit up against the city skyline. The tagline read, "From the ashes, she rose." Emily stopped at the light and whispered, "Yes, I did." But across the street, a car engine idled. Inside, Daniel watched her through the rain-smeared windshield, his expression unreadable. He whispered to himself, "If she thinks she's won, she hasn't seen the ending yet." The night before the Phoenix Gala, Los Angeles shimmered beneath a restless sky. Emily sat by the window of her apartment, feeling her baby kick stronger than ever. She smiled through exhaustion. The gala was ready, her new life was forming, and yet a small knot of fear refused to loosen. Sophie's voice echoed from the phone speaker. "You did amazing, Em. The event's going to be a hit, you just need to rest." Emily nodded. "I'm trying, but Daniel's been quiet for too long. That's not a good sign." "Let him be quiet," Sophie said. "The law's watching him. You're safe, and soon you'll have that baby boy in your arms." Emily smiled faintly. "Yeah, soon." After hanging up, she prepared tea and sat in the soft glow of the kitchen. The baby shifted again, harder this time. A sharp pain shot through her side. She froze. "Hey, little one. Easy," she whispered, rubbing her belly. But the pain grew sharper, rhythmic. Her breath caught. "Oh no, not tonight." She grabbed her phone and called Dr. Park. Within minutes, an ambulance was on its way. Meanwhile, across the city, Daniel sat in his car outside Vanessa's new high-rise apartment. The rain poured harder, blurring his reflection in the windshield. He was a shell of the man he'd once been. Stubble, dark eyes, anger boiling under the surface. He dialed Vanessa's number again. No answer. He slammed his fist on the steering wheel. "You used me, Vanessa. You ruined everything." Inside, Vanessa watched the missed calls appear on her phone. She smirked. "Desperate little Daniel?" she murmured. Turning to her new boyfriend, she said, "He still thinks he matters." "You sure he won't talk?" the man asked. "He doesn't have the guts," she replied. "He never did." Back in the ambulance, Emily winced as contractions hit faster. Dr. Park's voice came through the phone, calm and steady. "You're early, but it's okay. You're strong. Focus on breathing." At the hospital, the air was thick with tension. Nurses moved quickly, prepping her for labor. "Doctor, blood pressure's high," someone shouted. Dr. Park arrived, slipping into gloves. "Emily, look at me. You've survived worse than this. You and your baby are fighters." Tears streamed down Emily's face. "I'm scared," she whispered. Dr. Park smiled gently. "Courage isn't the absence of fear, sweetheart. It's pushing through it." Hours passed in a blur of pain, sweat, and prayers. The storm outside raged louder, thunder shaking the windows. Emily screamed as the final contraction tore through her, and then, crying, the pure, beautiful cry of a newborn baby. Dr. Park lifted the child and smiled. "It's a boy." Emily's sobs turned to laughter as they placed the baby in her arms. "Hi, my love," she whispered. "You made it." Outside the hospital, Daniel's car idled under the storm. His phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa. "Congratulations, you just became expendable." His grip tightened on the phone, rage flashing across his face. "You think you can erase me?" he hissed. "You have no idea what's coming next." The morning after Emily's son was born, the world seemed different. The hospital smelled of new life, not fear. Light poured through the window, warm and golden, as Emily held her baby close. His tiny fingers wrapped around hers, anchoring her to a peace she'd never known. "Welcome to the world, Noah," she whispered. Dr. Park entered with a proud smile. You both made it through beautifully. He's strong, just like his mom. Emily smiled, exhausted but radiant. Thank you for not giving up on us. Don't thank me, Dr. Park said gently. You saved yourself. Across town, however, another world was collapsing. Vanessa Moore sat in her penthouse suite, scrolling through her phone when an alert popped up. Her company's bank account frozen. What? She hissed. She called her accountant. Jason, what's going on? Vanessa, he stammered. The IRS and FBI are investigating your brand deals. Fraud, money laundering. There's a warrant for financial review. Her blood ran cold. Who reported it? There was a pause. Anonymous tip, sent from a secured server at Ford and Finch Events. Vanessa's face drained of color. Lucas Ford, she whispered. That smug CEO. Moments later, her phone buzzed again. It was a news notification. Vanessa Moore's luxury brand under investigation. Federal audit pending. Her glass of champagne slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Sophie arrived with balloons and legal papers. You're officially granted full custody, she said proudly. Daniel didn't even show up for the hearing. His lawyer withdrew after the restraining order became permanent. Emily blinked in disbelief. It's really over? Legally? Yes. Emotionally? That'll take time. But you did it. Emily looked down at Noah. Then everything was worth it. Across the city, Daniel's phone exploded with messages. Vanessa Moore investigation, FBI search warrant, scandal linked to influencer fraud. He slammed his fist into the table. She's dragging me down with her. He grabbed his keys and stormed out, driving toward Vanessa's penthouse through the pouring rain. Security guards tried to block him, but he shoved past. Where is she? He shouted. Vanessa stood by the window, packing jewelry into a suitcase. Oh, look who decided to visit, she said coolly. What, come to beg? You ruined me, he yelled. Everything I did for you. Vanessa smirked. Poor Daniel, you did it for yourself. You were easy to manipulate, and now you're just dead weight. He stepped closer, voice trembling with rage. You think you can walk away? I already have, she said, brushing past him toward the elevator. The FBI's coming, sweetheart. Maybe you can charm them like you did your wife. Daniel's world tilted. You turned me in, he realized, his voice hollow. Vanessa smiled one last time. Karma's a mirror, Daniel. You broke it when you pushed her. The elevator doors closed. Sirens wailed outside as federal agents entered the building. Vanessa froze mid-step when one of them said, Vanessa Moore, you're under arrest for fraud and obstruction. Her smile vanished, and miles away, Emily rocked her baby gently, unaware that justice was already unfolding. For the first time, the monsters who haunted her were finally caged, and the woman who once broke her was about to face the fall she deserved. 2 days after Vanessa's arrest, Los Angeles woke up to chaos. Every news outlet ran her story. Influencer queen exposed, fraud, lies, and love affairs. The headlines painted Vanessa as a con artist, a social climber who manipulated men for money, including one name the world already knew too well, Daniel Brooks. Daniel sat in a cheap motel room, the curtains drawn tight. His once pristine suit was wrinkled, his face unshaven, eyes hollow. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. Every channel he flipped to showed Vanessa being escorted by federal agents in handcuffs, still trying to smile for the cameras. She threw me under the bus, he muttered to himself, pacing the stained carpet. She told them everything. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. A familiar voice came through, calm and cold. Mr. Brooks, this is Agent Russell from the FBI. We'd like to ask you some questions regarding Ms. Moore's financial records. Daniel's heart pounded. I don't know anything. That's not what she said, the agent replied before hanging up. Daniel collapsed onto the bed, running both hands through his hair. His mind flashed through every decision, every lie. He had lost his career, his money, his lover, and his wife. All that remained was guilt and the growing shadow of justice. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Meanwhile, in the hospital nursery, Emily watched Noah sleeping peacefully. His tiny breaths filled the silence. For a moment, she forgot the world's noise, the lawsuits, the headlines, the pain. All that existed was him. Sophie entered quietly. Good news, she said. The FBI subpoenaed Vanessa's files. Turns out she laundered money through Daniel's real estate deals. They'll both face federal charges. Emily's expression didn't change. Does that mean he's going to prison? Most likely, Sophie replied. The district attorney's building a case. Daniel's name is all over her accounts. Emily looked out the window, voice calm but firm. Good. Maybe prison will teach him what loss feels like. Back in the motel, Daniel was unraveling fast. He opened a bottle of whiskey, pouring it straight down his throat. The room spun. His thoughts blurred between regret and rage. She ruined me, he whispered. Emily ruined me. They all did. He stumbled toward the bathroom mirror, gripping the sink. His reflection stared back. Red-eyed, pathetic, broken. You did this, he growled at himself. You pushed her. You lied. You killed everything. A sob escaped his throat. He sank to the floor, shaking uncontrollably. Hours later, police lights flashed outside. The motel clerk had called it in, someone screaming, breaking glass. Officers knocked, shouting, "Daniel Brooks, open the door!" He didn't move. The door burst open. Officers found him on the floor, half-conscious, clutching a bottle and muttering Emily's name over and over. When they dragged him outside, reporters swarmed. Cameras caught his tear-streaked face as he cried, "Tell Emily I'm sorry. Tell her I loved her." The footage aired within the hour. Emily saw it while feeding Noah. She stared at the screen for a long time, unmoving. Then she whispered, "It's too late for sorry." She turned off the TV and kissed her son's forehead. Outside the hospital, rain began to fall again, just like the night it all began. But this time, the storm belonged to Daniel alone. Morning sunlight cut through the haze of Los Angeles as the world woke to breaking news. Exclusive FBI leak. Vanessa Moore and Daniel Brooks connected in multi-million-dollar fraud. The scandal had finally detonated. Every network replayed the clips of Vanessa's arrest alongside Daniel's mugshot, taken after his motel breakdown. For the first time, the public saw them for what they truly were, predators who devoured each other. In her hospital room, Emily fed baby Noah while the TV flickered silently in the background. Sophie entered, carrying coffee and a folded newspaper. "It's official," she said, setting it down. Vanessa confessed. She admitted to laundering money through Daniel's real estate deals and manipulating him into covering for her crimes. Emily looked up slowly. "So he knew?" Sophie nodded. "At first, maybe not, but once the money started moving, he played along. The FBI recovered messages between them. She promised to make him rich enough to forget his wife." Emily's throat tightened. He traded his family for money, for her. Sophie touched her shoulder gently. And look where it got them. The TV played a new clip, Vanessa being led into court in an orange jumpsuit. Reporters shouted questions as she turned toward the cameras with her trademark fake smile. "I was manipulated too," she said dramatically. "Daniel Brooks was the real mastermind." Sophie rolled her eyes. "She's still acting." Emily sighed. "She can lie all she wants. The truth's out now." Across town, Lucas Ford watched the same broadcast from his office. His company had been instrumental in tipping off the FBI, forwarding the encrypted data that exposed Vanessa's offshore accounts. When his assistant entered, he said quietly, "Make sure Emily doesn't get dragged into the media storm. Protect her name." Back at the hospital, Dr. Park entered with Noah's medical chart. "Good news," she smiled. "He's strong enough to go home tomorrow." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Home," she repeated softly, almost in disbelief. Dr. Park nodded. "A new start. You deserve it." Later that afternoon, Emily stepped outside for the first time in days. The air smelled like rain and jasmine. Reporters had gathered near the gate, but this time the questions weren't cruel. "Emily, how does it feel to see justice served?" She paused, holding Noah close. "Justice isn't revenge," she said firmly. "It's truth. And sometimes the truth just takes time to surface." That soundbite aired nationwide within hours. The public rallied behind her again. Emily Carter Strong trended online. Meanwhile, Daniel sat alone in an interrogation room, pale and defeated. "I never meant to hurt her," he whispered to Agent Russell. The agent didn't look up from his notes. "You hurt her, her child, and yourself. You're looking at a long sentence, Mr. Brooks." When they left him alone, Daniel stared at the metal table, whispering Emily's name until his voice broke. That night, Emily watched the city lights from her hospital window. She held Noah in her arms and whispered, "We're free now, baby. No more running." But as she turned off the TV, a final headline flashed across the screen. "Vanessa Moore requests deal, offers evidence against Daniel Brooks." Emily froze. The storm wasn't over yet, and one more secret was about to change everything. The courtroom was overflowing again, but this time, Emily wasn't inside. She sat at home, baby Noah asleep on her chest, while the television broadcast the hearing live. Her pulse quickened as the camera focused on Vanessa Moore, now in an orange jumpsuit, wrists cuffed, makeup gone, arrogance cracked. The reporter's voice echoed through the living room. Vanessa Moore has reached a plea deal with federal prosecutors, offering new evidence in exchange for a reduced sentence. Emily stared at the screen. "A deal?" she whispered. Sophie, sitting beside her, nodded grimly. "Vanessa's throwing Daniel under the bus. She's claiming he masterminded everything, the fraud, the money transfers, even the cover-up after your fall." Emily frowned. "But she was the one who—" "I know," Sophie interrupted, "but she's good at twisting stories. The prosecutors will take any lead that helps close the case faster." The TV cut to Vanessa on the witness stand. She dabbed fake tears with a tissue. "Daniel forced me," she said dramatically. "He used me to hide his crimes. He told me about his wife's accident and made me delete the evidence. I was scared for my life." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Reporters scribbled furiously. Daniel, seated across from her, looked stunned. "She's lying," he shouted, slamming his hand on the table. "She's the one who— Mr. Brooks, control yourself." The judge barked. Vanessa smirked, lowering her eyes in false innocence. "He's dangerous," she said softly. "He ruined me." Emily's stomach turned. Sophie shook her head. Classic Vanessa, always the victim. But then something unexpected happened. The prosecutor stood, holding a new folder. "Miss Moore," he said, "you claim Daniel Brooks destroyed evidence?" "Yes," she said sweetly. "Then how do you explain this?" He turned toward the judge, handing over a USB drive. "Recovered footage from a deleted cloud backup, traced to your apartment. It shows you instructing Mr. Brooks to conceal the funds and encouraging him to silence his wife." The courtroom exploded with noise. Vanessa's smile vanished. "That's not real," she screamed. The judge slammed the gavel. Order." Daniel's expression shifted from fear to shock. "You recorded yourself?" he whispered, half in disbelief, half in awe of her stupidity. The prosecutor continued, calm and cold. "Miss Moore, your deal is hereby revoked. You'll face full charges of fraud, witness intimidation, and attempted coercion." Vanessa's body went rigid. "No, you can't do that." The judge's voice cut like thunder. "You wanted a bargain, Miss Moore. You just got it. A bargain with consequences." Outside the courthouse, cameras captured the moment agents led Vanessa away. Her screams echoed down the marble hallway. When Emily saw it on TV, she exhaled deeply for the first time in months. "It's over," she whispered. Sophie smiled. "Not yet, but it's close." Across the screen, a final shot froze. Vanessa being pushed into a federal car, her face twisted in rage. Emily looked down at Noah. "That's what happens when you build your life on lies," she murmured. Outside, the rain had stopped. For the first time, sunlight filled the apartment. But miles away, Daniel sat in his cell, staring at the same headline, and planning one last desperate move. The air in the federal courtroom was heavy, thick with the tension of final judgment. After months of investigation, depositions, and media storms, the trial of Daniel Brooks versus Smoth, the state of California, reached its end. Every seat was filled. Cameras waited outside like vultures. Emily sat quietly in the back row, wearing a simple navy dress. Sophie was beside her, hands folded neatly over her notes. She hadn't wanted to come, but part of her knew she had to see this through, to watch the man who broke her finally face the truth. Daniel was led in by two officers. He looked nothing like the man she once loved. His suit hung loose on his frame, his eyes sunken, beard unkempt. For a brief second, their eyes met. Emily didn't feel hatred, only the hollow ache of what might have been. The judge cleared his throat. "Mr. Brooks, you stand accused of aggravated assault, obstruction of justice, and complicity in financial fraud. Before I deliver sentencing, do you wish to speak?" Daniel stood shakily. "Your Honor, I made mistakes. I was angry. I was lost, but I didn't mean to hurt her. He glanced toward Emily, voice cracking. "I loved her once. I swear I did." The judge's eyes remained cold. "Love doesn't push a pregnant woman down the stairs, Mr. Brooks." A ripple of murmurs spread through the courtroom. The prosecutor stood. "Your Honor, the state recommends a maximum sentence. The defendant's actions nearly cost 2 lives, and his attempt to conceal evidence worsened the crime. We ask for 25 years with no possibility of early release." Daniel's attorney whispered frantically, "Take the plea, Daniel. It's the best you'll get." But Daniel shook his head. "No, I won't rot for her lies." The judge sighed. So be it. Mr. Brooks, this court finds you guilty on all counts. You are hereby sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. The gavel struck. The sound echoed like thunder. Daniel's body slumped. The guards moved to escort him out, but he turned one last time toward Emily. You destroyed me, he shouted. You think you've won, but this will follow you forever. Emily stood, calm and composed. No, Daniel, she said softly. This will follow you. As the guards dragged him away, cameras outside caught every second. Reporters shouted, Emily, how do you feel about the verdict? She paused at the courthouse steps, baby Noah in her arms. Justice doesn't heal everything, she said quietly, but it's the first step toward peace. That night, every major network replayed her words. Justice for Emily trended again, but this time it wasn't pity, it was respect. Inside his prison cell, Daniel sat alone, staring at the gray walls. He reached into his pocket and unfolded a worn photograph of Emily smiling on their wedding day. His tears fell silently onto the image. From his cell window, he could hear the faint sound of rain hitting the bars. He whispered, I'm sorry, to no one. Miles away, Emily placed Noah's crib near the window. She kissed his forehead and whispered, We're free now. And for the first time in years, when she closed her eyes, the world was silent, because justice had finally spoken. The courthouse smelled faintly of paper and rain. It was sentencing day for the fraud trial connected to Vanessa Moore. Although Daniel's fate had already been sealed, prosecutors requested one final hearing, a victim impact statement from Emily Carter. She had spent nights debating whether to attend. Part of her wanted to move on. Another part knew she couldn't truly heal until she spoke her truth. Sophie adjusted her blazer and whispered, You don't owe anyone this, Em. You've already won. Emily nodded. I know, but I need to look them in the eye and end it myself. When her name was called, Emily rose, holding her prepared statement. The courtroom fell silent as she walked to the stand. Vanessa sat at the defense table, wrists cuffed, eyes dull without makeup. The arrogance that once radiated from her was gone, replaced by something hollow, fear. Daniel sat beside her as a witness under federal custody, his orange jumpsuit a harsh reminder of the life he'd thrown away. The judge gestured. Miss Carter, you may speak. Emily inhaled deeply and began. 2 years ago, I was a wife, a dreamer, and an expectant mother. I believed in love, loyalty, and second chances. But that night at the top of the stairs, everything I believed in shattered. The man I trusted became the man who broke me. The courtroom was silent, except for the scratch of reporters' pens. I nearly lost my life. And my child's, she continued. And while I fought for breath in a hospital bed, they fought to destroy my name. But pain has a strange way of teaching you strength. What they didn't know was that every lie they told only pushed me closer to the truth. Vanessa's gaze flickered, uneasy. Emily turned toward her. Vanessa, you once said power is about who screams the loudest. You were wrong. Power is quiet. It's in the mothers who survive, the women who rebuild, and the people who choose truth over fear. Then she faced Daniel. His eyes glistened with tears. You said you loved me, she said softly. Love isn't violence. Love isn't silence. Love is protecting what you cherish, not destroying it. Her voice trembled but stayed strong. I forgive you both, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. The judge leaned forward, expression thoughtful. Thank you, Miss Carter. Your courage is noted. Emily stepped down from the stand. As she passed Daniel, he whispered, Emily, please, don't leave hating me. She paused, looking at him one last time. I stopped hating you a long time ago. I just stopped knowing you. Outside, reporters crowded the steps, microphones thrust forward, questions flying. Emily, what's next for you? She smiled faintly. Living, that's what's next. That night, news anchors replayed her testimony nationwide. A survivor's grace. Emily Carter's words redefined forgiveness. At home, Emily watched the clip with Noah asleep beside her. She turned off the TV, whispering to him, We did it, baby. It's over. Outside her window, the city glowed, no longer a battlefield, but a beginning. And as dawn broke, Emily finally felt the quiet power of freedom she'd fought so hard to earn. 1 year later, Los Angeles looked softer somehow. Less cruel, more forgiving. Spring sunlight filtered through Emily's new apartment, casting gentle gold on the framed photo of her and baby Noah. He was almost walking now, his chubby fingers gripping the edge of the couch while Emily laughed from the kitchen. Careful, buddy, she said. You're not ready to run just yet." He giggled, wobbling toward her. For the first time, laughter filled the air that once echoed with fear. After everything, the trial, the headlines, the pain, Emily had built a quiet life. No chaos, no cameras. Just mornings with Noah and evenings filled with soft music instead of shouting. Sophie still visited often, though less like a lawyer now and more like a sister. She arrived that afternoon carrying coffee and a new toy for Noah. "I swear this kid's growing faster than my student loans," she joked. Emily smiled, setting out 2 mugs. "It's been a good year." Sophie nodded. "You earned it." Then her tone softened. "How do you really feel?" Emily thought for a moment. "Lighter," she said finally. "Some days I wake up and forget what happened. Other days it hits me all over again, but the difference now is I know it doesn't define me." Sophie raised her cup. "To survival." Emily clinked her mug against Sophie's. "To peace." After Sophie left, Emily tucked Noah into his crib. She sat beside the window, watching the sunset stretch across the skyline. That's when her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. For a second, her chest tightened, old instincts, but when she opened it, her breath steadied. "Hi Emily, this is Lucas. Just checking in. The foundation gala you designed last year hit a record in donations. The board wants you back for another project, if you're ready." She smiled. Lucas Ford had become a quiet supporter in her life, never overstepping, always encouraging. Maybe this was her next chapter. The next morning she met Lucas at a small cafe downtown. He stood when she arrived, his familiar warm smile easing her nerves. "Emily," he said, "you look happy." "I am," she admitted. "Still healing, but happy." He nodded. "That's all that matters. The board wants a new event for survivors, something about rebuilding lives, and honestly, no one could tell that story better than you." She hesitated. "Do you think people still remember me?" Lucas's gaze was steady. "They remember your courage, not your pain. There's a difference." His words lingered as she walked home later, Noah's tiny hand clinging to hers. The world had moved on, but not in a cruel way. It was like the city was finally letting her breathe again. That night, after putting Noah to sleep, she opened her laptop and began sketching designs for the new project. Each stroke of color felt like reclaiming something she'd lost. Outside, the city lights blinked like promises. She whispered to herself, "We're gonna be okay, Noah. We already are." And far away, inside a prison cell, Daniel Brooks watched the same city glow through barred windows. He whispered her name under his breath, realizing too late that peace was the only thing he'd never be able to buy back. For Emily, the nightmare had ended, but her rebirth had only just begun. 1.5 years had passed since Emily last saw a courtroom. The noise of scandal had faded into the background of Los Angeles life, and the woman once known only as the victim had quietly rebuilt her name. Her new business, Rising Light Events, had grown faster than she'd ever imagined. Weddings, charity galas, even corporate launches. But today wasn't about clients or contracts. Today was about something bigger. Her first large-scale collaboration with Lucas Ford's foundation, Voices of Strength, dedicated to survivors of domestic abuse. The ballroom buzzed with life as crews set up tables draped in white silk, accented with gold and soft rose tones. Banners read, "Rebuilding begins here." Emily walked through the space, clipboard in hand, directing her team with calm precision. "Let's move the stage lights 3 feet left," she said. "I want the main spotlight centered on the podium, not the banner." Her assistant, Mia, smiled. "You're a perfectionist, you know that?" Emily chuckled. "No, I'm just done letting the world tell my story. Tonight, we write our own." Across the room, Lucas approached, dressed in a sharp gray suit. "You've outdone yourself again," he said. Emily turned, smiling. "It's not just my event, Lucas. It's our message." He nodded, his expression soft, "and it's one people need to hear." Before the guests arrived, Emily slipped into a quiet corner to call Sophie. "You sure you can't make it tonight?" "I wish I could," Sophie said through the phone. "But I'm proud of you, Em. You're turning pain into something powerful." Emily smiled. "You're part of that, Soph. You helped me survive it." As the evening began, soft music filled the ballroom. Survivors from all walks of life, women, men, families, mingled and shared stories. For the first time, Emily didn't feel like she was standing under a spotlight of pity. She was standing among equals. When Lucas took the stage, he gestured toward her. "There's someone here tonight who reminds us that strength isn't loud, it's steady." Emily Carter, the woman who turned her scars into a beacon for others. Applause erupted as Emily walked to the microphone. Her heart pounded, but her voice was steady. I once believed survival meant just breathing, but now I know. It means creating something beautiful from what tried to destroy you. Every person in this room has rebuilt themselves, and tonight we celebrate that. The room fell silent, captivated. After the speech, Lucas found her near the balcony overlooking the city. The lights glittered below like constellations. You were incredible, he said softly. Emily laughed shyly. I was terrified, he smiled. You didn't look it, you looked free. She looked out at the skyline. For the first time, I think I am. From the shadows near the exit, a reporter watched quietly, camera flashing once. The photo would later appear online. Emily Carter smiling under the banner Rising Light. The caption would read, From tragedy to triumph, the woman who rose again. As the night ended, Emily held Noah in her arms, whispering, See, baby, this is what healing looks like. And though her past had once broken her, tonight proved it had also built her wings. 2 years after that terrible night, Emily Carter finally moved into her dream home. It wasn't extravagant, just a cozy 2-story house tucked on a quiet street in Pasadena with a small garden full of lavender and sunflowers. Every inch of it symbolized peace. As movers carried boxes inside, Noah ran barefoot across the lawn, giggling. Mommy, look, butterflies. Emily laughed, her voice lighter than it had been in years. That means it's a happy house, she said. Inside, sunlight streamed through open windows. On one wall hung a framed quote she'd chosen carefully. From the ashes, she built herself again. Lucas arrived with a bottle of sparkling cider and a bag of groceries. I figured you might not have had time to stock the fridge, he said with a grin. Emily smiled. You read my mind. They unpacked together while Noah colored on the floor nearby. The warmth between them was easy, unspoken. It wasn't romantic, not yet, but it was real. For Emily, trust was something she no longer gave freely. But with Lucas, it didn't feel forced. It felt earned. Do you ever think about the past? Lucas asked quietly, helping her arrange dishes. Sometimes, she admitted, but not like before. I used to relive it, like a movie I couldn't turn off. Now it feels distant, like a chapter I've already finished reading. He smiled. You didn't just finish it, Emily. You rewrote the ending. That evening, Sophie stopped by with flowers and legal papers. Final signature, she said proudly. Your business name is officially trademarked. Rising Light Events belongs entirely to you. Emily's eyes glistened. I can't believe it's real. Sophie grinned. Believe it. You built this from scratch while raising a baby after surviving everything they threw at you. If that's not power, I don't know what is. After Sophie left, Emily tucked Noah into his new bed. The little boy yawned and murmured, Mommy, are the bad people gone now? She stroked his hair. They are, sweetheart. They're far, far away. He smiled sleepily. Good. Then we can be happy forever. Emily kissed his forehead. Yes, baby. We can. Later that night, she sat on the porch with Lucas, watching the stars. The air smelled like rain and fresh earth. Lucas turned to her. You ever wonder why people call you a survivor? You're more than that. She tilted her head. What do you mean? You didn't just survive, he said softly. You lived. You fought. You inspired people who didn't even know your name. That's something most people never do. She smiled, eyes shining. Maybe, but I didn't do it alone. He met her gaze, a quiet understanding passing between them. Inside, Noah's laughter echoed faintly through the window, a sound that once seemed impossible. Emily took a deep breath, the night air cool against her skin. For the first time, she whispered, this feels like home. And as the lights of the city shimmered below, she knew the ghosts of her past no longer lived here. Only love, peace, and the quiet strength of a woman who had finally come home to herself. Spring returned to California, painting the world in soft pinks and golds. Emily Carter's new life had settled into rhythm, mornings with Noah, afternoons managing Rising Light events, and evenings filled with laughter, not fear. But this season carried something unexpected, warmth she hadn't felt in years. Lucas Ford had become more than a business partner. He'd been there for every late-night brainstorm, every client disaster, every celebration. He never asked for anything more, yet every smile, every shared glance lingered a little too long. One Friday, he called with an invitation. There's a charity dinner at the art museum, he said. You designed it last year, remember? I thought maybe you'd want to see it from the other side, for once as a guest." Emily hesitated. "A guest? You mean, like a date?" He chuckled. "Only if you want it to be." That night she stood before her mirror, slipping into a simple emerald dress. She hadn't dressed up for anyone in years. For a moment she saw the reflection of the woman she used to be, but stronger now, softer, wiser. When Lucas arrived he looked stunned. "You look incredible," he said quietly. Emily smiled. "You clean up well yourself." The museum glowed with fairy lights and live music. Guests mingled under glass ceilings while servers floated through with champagne trays. Emily felt the old anxiety stir, the whisper of eyes watching, judging, but Lucas's hand found hers gently. "You're safe," he murmured. The night flowed easily. They talked about everything: childhood dreams, failures, hope. For once, Emily didn't feel like the woman from the headlines. She felt like herself. Later, as they stepped out onto the balcony, the city stretched below in glittering silence. Lucas turned to her, hesitating. "Emily, I've wanted to say this for a while." She looked up, curious. "What?" "You don't owe anyone your heart," he said softly. "But if someday you decide to give it again, I hope you'll think of me." Her breath caught. The sincerity in his voice melted something inside her that had been frozen for too long. "Lucas," she whispered, "you've already helped me believe love isn't supposed to hurt. That's more than I ever thought I'd have again." He smiled, eyes warm. "Then that's enough for now." Before she could reply, her phone buzzed. A text from Sophie? They finally closed the Brooks case. "It's done, Emily. Completely done." Tears filled her eyes. Lucas read the message over her shoulder and squeezed her hand. "You see?" he whispered. "It's all behind you now." She exhaled slowly, the weight of years dissolving in that single moment. "It really is," she said. The night wind brushed her hair as she leaned against the balcony rail, laughter echoing from inside. Lucas turned to face her, his voice quiet but sure. "To new beginnings?" Emily smiled through tears. "To love that doesn't need fixing." Their glasses clinked softly. Below them, the city lights shimmered like blessings from the universe itself. And for the first time in forever, Emily's heart opened. Not in fear, but in hope. The kind of hope that only comes after surviving everything. 3 years had passed since that rainy night, the night that shattered Emily Carter's world and unknowingly rebuilt it. Life now moved with a quiet grace. Her mornings began with Noah's laughter, the smell of pancakes, and sunlight streaming through the windows of their Pasadena home. Peace wasn't a dream anymore, it was her daily reality. That morning, she stood in front of the mirror, fastening a delicate silver necklace. Lucas waited by the door, holding Noah's tiny hand. "You ready?" he asked with a soft smile. Emily nodded. "As I'll ever be." They were heading to the Voices of Strength Gala, the annual charity event she'd founded with Lucas 2 years ago. What had once been a cause born of pain had turned into a movement of hope. Survivors across the country were finding help, justice, and healing through the foundation. When they arrived at the grand ballroom, flashbulbs went off, but Emily no longer flinched. Reporters greeted her not with scandalous whispers, but with admiration. "Miss Carter, you're an inspiration," one woman said. Emily smiled warmly. "I'm just proof that darkness doesn't get the last word." Inside, the room glowed with candles and flowers. The banner above the stage read, "From surviving to thriving." Lucas took the microphone first, his voice steady. "Tonight isn't just about raising funds, it's about raising each other. And no one embodies that more than Emily Carter." Applause filled the room. Emily stepped up to the podium, her emerald dress glimmering beneath the lights. She looked out at the crowd, faces filled with empathy, strength, and stories just like hers. "When my life fell apart," she began, "I thought it was the end, but it was the beginning. The moment I realized how strong a woman can be when she decides to stand again. Pain doesn't define us, it refines us." The audience fell silent, every word landing heavy with truth. She continued, voice trembling slightly. "If someone out there is watching this, trapped in fear or shame, please know, you are not broken. You are waiting to rise." Tears shimmered in the crowd. Lucas watched her from the front row, his eyes filled with quiet pride. After her speech, the music swelled, and guests began to dance. Emily stepped outside for a moment of air. The night was calm, stars glowing like tiny witnesses to her journey. Lucas joined her, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. You did it again, he said, smiling. Every time you speak, you change someone's life. Emily laughed softly. Maybe, but the truth is I was the one who needed saving, and somehow I saved myself. He handed her a glass. To survival? She shook her head gently. No, to living. They clinked glasses as a soft breeze stirred the garden lights. Inside, the crowd cheered as donations hit record numbers. Meanwhile, in a quiet prison miles away, Daniel Brooks sat before an old TV, watching Emily's speech replay on the evening news. His eyes filled with tears. She made it, he whispered. She really made it. Back in Pasadena, Emily leaned against Lucas, Noah asleep in her arms. We're finally free, she whispered, and under the glow of starlight she realized she hadn't just survived the fall, she had soared far beyond it. So, that's how our story comes to an end. But you, yes you, my amazing friend, you're still here, aren't you? If you've stayed until this moment, then something in Emily's journey must have touched your heart in a way words can't quite describe. Maybe it reminded you of your own strength or of the quiet power you carry, even on your hardest days. You see, life will break us all at some point. But as the Stoics say, what stands in the way becomes the way. Pain isn't the end. It's the fire that forges us into who we were meant to be. Emily's story isn't just hers. It's yours. It's mine. It's every soul who decided to rise again after the fall. So if her courage moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit like, share the story, and subscribe. Let's keep building a space where healing, hope, and truth live together.